And greetings, my friends, patriots, lovers of democracy, truth, and justice, believers in peace, freedom, and the American way. Thom Hartmann here with you. And, I did it again. Bernie, hang on just a second. We got to get the call screening software up here. And here it comes. It's Friday, so we're going to start our first hour here with Brunch with Bernie, Senator Bernie Sanders, the independent senator from Vermont. And there he is. Bernie, welcome.
Good to be with you, Tom.
My apologies for the delay. So, a lot going on. Social Security, Medicare, the economy is, we're getting some new numbers. Immigration is in the news, and Japan is saying no thanks to our wheat because GMOs are popping up, and there's a lot of other stuff going on around there.
There is.
What's on your mind with regard to these things?
Let me rattle through some of it. I think if you read the papers, you find kind of conflicting reports about the state of the economy. There's clearly some good news, and then there's some not-so-good news. I think maybe the best news that we've heard in a while is that housing prices are going up. That means for the average American, there's going to be a little bit more wealth that you have because that wealth is associated with the house that you own. The bad news is that unemployment remains far too high. While we have seen, obviously, some real gains from where we were 5 years ago, what we should all remember is that real unemployment is not 7.5%. That's official unemployment. Real unemployment is closer to 14%, including those people who have given up looking for work and those people who are working part-time when they want to work full-time. When you talk about good news, and I don't know that a lot of people know this, the truth of the matter is that the deficit now projected for 2013 is about, I believe, $648 billion, a lot of money. It is one half of what it was 4 or 5 years ago. But the bad news is that in order to achieve that reduction in the deficit, we have cut a lot of programs for vulnerable people. So if you are unemployed right now, you're going to get less than you otherwise would have. If you're on the Meals on Wheels program, if you're a senior just dependent on the Meals on Wheels program for your nutrition, that has been cut back. If you're a working mother sending your kids to Head Start, we've lost 70,000 slots on that. If you're a federal employee, you're going to be furloughed and lose income despite the fact you haven't had a raise in the last 3 years. So good news, but also some not-so-good news. I think the bottom line here is that we have got to appreciate that the middle class in America today continues to disappear. Millions of people are working longer hours for lower wages. Youth unemployment and the unemployment rate for minorities is kind of off the charts. It's just extraordinarily high as a result of the loss of thousands and thousands of factories, people without a lot of education, men and women who otherwise would have gotten a job in a factory, maybe made a middle-class living, no longer have that option. They're working at best in Walmarts or McDonald's at wages that are not livable. So when we hear the discussion about the economy, we shouldn't accept from anybody, everything is going great, we're making progress. Yeah, we are making progress compared to the disaster where we were 5 years ago as a result of the Wall Street crash. On the other hand, we have got to understand that this country needs a major, major jobs program. Fastest way to create millions of jobs is to invest in rebuilding our crumbling infrastructure. I've been riding around a lot the state of Vermont in the last week. Trust me, this state needs a lot of improvement in its roads and bridges. That's true all over America. Invest in rail so that we can catch up to the rest of the world. Water systems need a lot of work, et cetera, et cetera. So that's one area that we've got to pay a lot of attention to. There was a report that came out this morning dealing with Medicare and Social Security. Basically, the projections for Medicare have been expanded a few years as a result of declining health care costs, and that is good news. Social Security remains about the same. But let me just briefly discuss what the same means. It means that despite all of the rhetoric we hear from our right-wing friends, Social Security, according to the report today, can pay out every benefit owed to every eligible American for the next 20 years. 20 years. Social Security is not going broke. It is not in crisis. Now, we want Social Security to be strong not just for 20 years, but for 50 years or 75 years. And the way to do that is, I've said many times, we've introduced legislation which now has about 10 co-sponsors on it in the Senate, is to lift the cap on taxable income to end the absurdity of millionaires paying the same amount into the Social Security Trust Fund as somebody making $113,000. You do that, you could start at $250,000, which is what Obama talked about when he ran in 2008. You just do that, Social Security will be strong for our kids and our grandchildren. What we must not do is go forward on the so-called chain CPI, which would reduce cost of living benefits for seniors on Social Security and disabled vets. Will continue to work on this genetically modified food issue.
I just found the one-sentence quote here. This from Reuters. Toru Hisadomi, a Japanese farm ministry official in charge of wheat trading, told Reuters, quote, "We will refrain from buying Western white and feed wheat effective today."
Well, it's a real issue that I think many of our farmers worry about who are selling to Europe. Throughout Europe and in many other countries around the world, something like 45 or 50 countries, including all of the European Union, Russia, other countries, they have labeling for genetically modified food. And I can tell you that in Vermont, and I think all over this country, we're seeing people who are increasingly concerned about the quality of the food they eat and what they're given to their kids. In Vermont, our state legislature, the House of Representatives, voted 2-1 to bring forth labeling. Connecticut State Senate, I think, was almost unanimous. In California, they had a question on the ballot. The Monsanto people and the biotech people and the big corporations spent close to $50 million. They won, but those people who believe in labeling got 47% of the vote despite that enormous opposition, and there are now some 27 states in this country where legislation has been introduced to deal with labeling of genetically modified food. So those are some of the issues that are on my table right now. There's one other issue. Let me mention one other issue that will be coming to the fore in a couple of weeks, and that is the issue of immigration. And that is a very important issue, and it's a big issue. In my view, we should begin to address the issue of supporting a pathway to citizenship for 11 million undocumented people in this country. I think we should do that. I think we should support the DREAM Act for those kids who were born in the United States of America. There are a lot of other provisions within this bill that are good, but here is what my worry is. Tom, I worry very much that at a time when unemployment remains very, very high, both for high-tech workers and for unskilled workers in this country, I am not sympathetic to large corporations kind of using immigration reform as a means to bring in hundreds and hundreds of thousands of foreign workers who, in general, will work for lower wages than American workers. If you're telling minority kids in this country, or working-class kids, who are trying to save a few bucks to go to college, that they have to now compete against more unskilled workers coming in from around the world, that just does not make a whole lot of sense to me. So that's an issue we're going to be focusing on in the coming weeks.
It's Brunch with Bernie, our national town hall meeting with Senator Bernie Sanders. Right now on the Thom Hartmann Program, your calls with Bernie up next, 15 minutes past the hour.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
And check out Bernie's website, sanders.senate.gov. You can sign up for the Bernie Buzz, his newsletter, and they update the website daily, frequently daily, with the news of the day. And welcome back. Taya in Blackfoot, Idaho, watching Free Speech TV on the DirecTV satellite system. You are on the air with Senator Sanders.
Hi, Senator Sanders?
Yes.
Hi, I'm Taya Roberts.
Taya, my apologies.
One of the things I think that a lot of middle-class and lower-middle-class people don't think about is the fact, and maybe some of them have been hit with this already, is that if taxes go down or stay down for the wealthy and keep up with us, and a lot of our nonprofit programs, a lot of our charities, some of them get federal funding, are gone, then it's up to the middle and the lower class really to help out those people that no longer have safety nets. In other words, what I'm saying is we're talking about our relatives, sometimes our neighbors that end up in either unemployed or with an illness or whatever that normally taxes would cover with help. And it seems to me that what's happening here is we're getting a real separation of the wealthy from any kind of a commitment to help people with these safety nets with charities. And it seems like those of us that are closer, maybe 2 paychecks away from poverty, are the ones that are going to help out because we're so close to it and we see it.
Well,
does that make sense?
Well, it does. It does. It makes sense in that what you are saying is that it turns out that ordinary people who are themselves struggling to keep their heads above water, who are hurting financially, are the ones who are going to help their neighbors who are in worse shape than they are. And I think to a large degree that ends up being true. But I think the more important point here, Kaya, is that at a time when we have growing wealth and income inequality in America that is as bad now as it has been at any time since the 1920s, where you have, incredibly, the top 1% owning 38% of the wealth in America and the bottom 60% owning only 2.3% of the wealth. And income disparity is as bad. What we have got to do is say to these very wealthy people, I'm sorry, you are Americans. You made your money in the United States of America. Your corporations were able to grow because Americans, by and large, consumed your products, worked in your plants, and you can't turn your back on this country. You can't stash huge amounts of money in tax havens in the Cayman Islands or Bermuda or elsewhere. You are Americans, and you're going to have to pay your fair share of taxes. 1 out of 4 major corporations, including some that are making billions in profits, pay nothing in taxes. We recently had a hearing in the Senate on Apple and how they avoid paying billions of dollars in taxes, but it's not just Apple, it's many corporations. So, Kaya, I hear what you're saying, and I think it is true. But the deeper truth is that in this country, we cannot ignore the reality that large corporations and many wealthy people are not paying their fair share, and as a result, a lot of our neighbors are hurting.
Bernie, it's just 10 seconds. Okay. So we'll be right back in just a moment with Senator Sanders and more of his answering your questions. He's taking your questions here on the Thom Hartmann Program, our Brunch with Bernie hour. It is coming up on 20 minutes past the hour. Be right back. Welcome back to the Thom Hartmann Program. It's our Brunch with Bernie hour. Senator Bernie Sanders taking your calls live at our National Town Hall meeting. Brunch with Bernie. And Paul in Martinez, California. Paul, you're on the air with Senator Sanders.
Hello, Senator. Hello, can you hear me?
Yep, hear you loud and clear.
Okay. I saw that the Sanders amendment to the Farm Bill failed rather spectacularly, and that among those who voted against it were certain senators who were notable progressives, such as Elizabeth Warren and Sherrod Brown, among others. And my question to you is, why is it that these people are, can you talk about why it is these people may have voted against this amendment?
Well, Paul, what I could tell you is we got 27 votes, which is not particularly good. It's a little bit better than we did the previous year. I am not going to speculate as to why Senator Warren or Senator Brown voted against that legislation. You'll have to ask them. But I hope very much that all members of the Senate will listen to the American people. We are seeing a situation now where all over this country, in state after state, there are efforts now to bring forth labeling. People want to know what is in the food that they eat. And I believe we're going to win this fight. I believe we're going to win this fight, despite the power of Monsanto and some of the other large food corporations. But, Paul, I don't want to answer for other senators. Let them answer for themselves.
Okay. Hans in Blue Ridge, Georgia. You're on the air with Senator Sanders.
Yes. Hi, Senator Bernie Sanders. I'm just wondering if you are familiar with the Bradley Amendment from 1986 and the injustice and damage it has caused to fathers in this country who are not in the category of deadbeat dads, which includes, by the way, our veterans and senior citizens.
Hans, I've got to apologize. I am not familiar with that 1986 legislation.
Okay. Armin in Bradenton, Florida. You're on the air with Senator Sanders.
Hi, Senator Sanders.
Hi, Armin. How are you?
I don't know what we'd do without you, but I dread to think about it. You're one of the finest people in our Congress. You probably are the finest. I think everybody likes you from the far right to the far left to the center. Bernie, Senator Sanders, excuse me, sir. Can you do everything in your power so that if possibly immigration goes forward, that it can only go forward if it doesn't further dilute the very weak leverage of the average failing middle class to the point that they even have less chance of pulling themselves up to the middle class status because there's, too many people now for the jobs we have because of free trade. You know it, I know it, Tom knows it. We just keep going on and on and on about it. But the only way that we're really, in my opinion, going to ever be able to bring this country back to the middle-class prosperity that was the lighthouse to the world in our past is the value-added multiplier that only goes along with manufacturing, to where you can take 10 cents worth of raw materials and make it something that's worth $1 to $5 in value.
Okay, Armin, let's let Senator Sanders respond.
I don't know that there's a lot more that I can add. Armin, by the way, touched on a lot of very, very important issues, and I agree with him. What Armin, and it's interesting the way Armin phrased his comments, because he dealt with both the issue of free trade, unfettered free trade, and immigration reform. And I agree with him that these are, in a sense, two sides of the same coin. So let me repeat very briefly my views on immigration. I think we do have to develop a path towards citizenship for the 11 million undocumented workers. I am a strong supporter of the DREAM Act for those young people, and I've met many of them who were born in the United States of America. I think we have to deal with aspects of guest worker programs in agriculture. So there are provisions in that bill that I think are very good and worthy of supporting. But here's the point that Armin is making. He's saying that as a result of unfettered free trade, we have lost over 50,000, we have lost in the last 10 years over 50,000 factories. A lot of that has to do with unfettered free trade. Some of it has to do with automation, other reasons as well. But the bottom line is that you once had a time in this country where somebody could graduate from high school, or not even graduate high school, and they could find a job in their town in manufacturing. Was it the best job in the world? No, it wasn't. Might it be messy and dirty and loud? Yeah, it was. But you know what? It paid wages, especially if you had a union, and benefits that allowed you to make it to the middle class. If those tens of thousands of factories and millions of decent-paying jobs disappear, what happens to those workers who don't have a whole lot of education? Where do they go? Well, I'll tell you where they go. If they're lucky, they may get a job at McDonald's or Burger King or Walmart, earning wages that are not livable with minimal benefits. And those people are hurting. And the facts are pretty clear that for those not well-educated working people, real wages and income have gone down precipitously in recent years. Then you have immigration. Now, that's the other side of the coin, and that's what Hartmann is talking about. So as part of this immigration bill, which was made worse by an amendment from Senator Hatch of Utah, they're saying is, okay, let's bring in a huge number, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of foreign workers to do what? To do work in unskilled labor? Really? Do we not have enough unskilled workers in this country who are desperately looking for work? Do we really need to complicate that and make that situation worse by bringing in unskilled labor from abroad? And then you got the whole issue of high skill. Well, here's an argument that some of these companies make, and there's a grain of truth to it. I think there are places in this country and certain professions, certain jobs, that companies are having a hard time filling. But I would say that there are many areas that they're simply wanting cheap labor from abroad rather than American workers who would work at a decent wage.
It's Senator Bernie Sanders taking your calls on Brunch with Bernie, our national town hall meeting here on the Thom Hartmann Program. Back with Bernie right after this. 34 minutes past the hour. Welcome back to Talk Media for the sane among us. It's the Thom Hartmann Program, our Brunch with Bernie hour, our national town hall meeting with Senator Bernie Sanders, taking your calls. And Bernie, you're still with us, right?
I am right here.
Okay. Richard in Midway, Tennessee. You are on the air with Senator Sanders.
Hello, Senator Sanders. Thank you for taking my call. I have a question for you. I disagree with you on the fact that there should be any cap on the Social Security withholdings because of the fact that if you were to lift the cap completely, make everyone in the country pay the same amount of taxes percentage-wise on their income, like Mitt Romney, who made $20 million last year, and then on top of that, he got a $19,900,000 tax exemption on Social Security. If you were to lift the cap completely, you could solve the Social Security problem. If there is one, you could solve Medicaid, Medicare, most of the problems that we have in this country. I'd like to hear a comment.
Well, Richard, I'm not quite sure what did you think I said?
Well, I mean,
I said that we should lift the cap.
You had said that there was a cap of $250,000.
Oh, no. I'm sorry. Maybe you misunderstood me. This is what I said. Of course we should lift the cap, but you don't have to start at $113,000. You can start at $250,000 and lift the cap completely on top of that, not limited to $250,000. I think that's my fault, and I did not explain my position clearly.
All righty. Let's see here. Susan in Dyer, Indiana. You are on the air with Senator Sanders.
Hi, thank you. Hi, Senator Sanders. Thank you for taking my call. First of all, I'd like to say that I am completely all for education, and I put myself through college, paid for it entirely by working sometimes 2 jobs at a time. And lately we've been bombarded with articles about people who've taken out exorbitant student loans, and now they can't pay them back. And I understand that the lending institutions are charging these high interest rates, and it's, highway robbery. But at the same hand, or on the other hand, I should say, why are they taking out loans that they can't pay back?
Okay,
why not go to a community college? Why not work study programs, work while you pay for it? If you can't afford it, everyone should have an education, don't get me wrong. But in particular, the recent article, $186,000 in debt because the lady decided to go to law school, and she's just going to walk away from it, she says.
Okay, Susan, you've raised a very good issue, and let me just tell you where I'm coming from. If this country is going to be successful in competing in the global economy, we need the best educated workforce that we can have. And by and large, if people today, young people, are going to make it into the middle class, I'm not saying everybody by any means, but many people are going to need a higher education. Here's the problem. The problem is that the cost of college education today is much, much higher than it was 30 or 40 years ago. When we look back on the 70s, the 60s, there were great universities in this country, University of California or City College in New York or state colleges in Vermont that were virtually free. Today, I don't have to tell you, I mean, I'm sure you know and everybody knows, that colleges now are costing $40,000, $50,000 a year in some cases. Community colleges are less expensive. Now, it seems to me that if we want to make sure that all of our people, regardless of income, are able to get the education that they need, we have got to address that problem. And right now, we are facing, I should tell you, as of July 1st, that Stafford loans, the major source of federal loans, will go up from 3.4 to 6.8%. That is unacceptable. We have parents out there who are sending their kids to college on the credit card, paying outrageously high interest rates. That is unacceptable. So my view is that, in fact, we should make college affordable to all Americans. And I'll tell you one way that you do it. Right now, the Federal Reserve, provides loans to Wall Street companies at 0.75%. My view is, and this is an idea that Senator Warren developed, Elizabeth Warren, is that type of interest rate should allow the Department of Education to bring in substantial sums of money and lend that out at very low rates to families in this country who are trying to get their kids a decent education. So, to my mind, we must encourage young people, if they have the ability, to go to college. We have got to have affordable interest rates. It is unacceptable that the average kid is graduating $25,000 in debt. If you go to graduate school, it is even higher than that. I've talked to dentists who are $200,000 in debt. That is a very, very bad situation.
Don in San Diego, California. You're on the air with Senator Sanders.
Hi, Senator Sanders. I salute you. Adding on to the last question, U.S. banks just reported record earnings of over $40 billion just in the first quarter. And if the banks are getting money at almost zero interest from the Fed, as you just said, and I agree, and yet they are charging 3, 4, 5 or more percent of it's a credit card, the banks have now taken over our country. How can we reverse that? And by the way, I think that seniors on Social Security should have access to low-interest loans just like students. I think that would help jumpstart our economy. I'm curious to hear your points.
Well, John, thank you very much. And you've made, I think, exactly the right point. We have a situation right now where banks are enjoying, in many cases, very high profits. And one of the reasons they can do that is they get very low interest rates, 0.75% from the Fed. And the point that I just made is that if large, profitable Wall Street companies are able to get low-interest loans, why can't working families in this country who want to send their kids to college? On top of that, I think as many of us know, it was our friends in Wall Street whose greed and recklessness and illegal behavior drove us into this terrible recession, and they continue to get these very low-interest loans, and hardworking families out in America can't get them. So I agree with John, and John and I are on the same page on this issue. We've got to get that kind of low-interest rates out to families that are sending their kids to college. How far you go on that issue, that's something that we need to think about. But I will tell you that when the Fed, during the emergency crisis that they had, when we had the Wall Street crisis 5 years ago, Fed lent out $16 trillion in low-interest loans to every financial institution and many corporations in America. And we should make sure that small and medium-sized businesses also can benefit from low-interest loans.
Diane in Niceville, Florida. You're on the air with Senator Sanders.
Yes, I wanted to bring up about the wheat issue, that people are so allergic to what they're doing to wheat, like myself. If I eat wheat, it gets stuck in my throat, and I can't swallow, and if I don't do something, it could cause death. But so what I do now is not eat wheat. And one time I even tried something had a little soy sauce in it, and so I started choking on it, and I drank a little water, and that filled up any airway that I had.
Wow.
So, and there's other things linking to what they're doing to wheat, is the MS symptoms, and they've got dementia, and look it up, wheat allergy. and we need to do something about it.
Well, I guess the point that I would just make on that, Diane, without being, an expert on that issue, is to say this is why I am focusing on the labeling of GMO products, because what can happen is if you merge the ingredients of two separate products, for example, maybe a wheat into something else, and you inadvertently eat the something else, not knowing that there's wheat in it, it could conceivably cause a problem for you. So that allowing people to know what is in the food that they're eating is, I think, an important way forward to prevent the problems that you've described.
Joe in Alcott, New York. You're on the air with Senator Sanders.
Thank you for taking my call, Senator Sanders. There's been quite a few companies that have spun off smaller companies with massive debt, with minimal assets, and they've been doing that to take and get rid of pensions and benefits for workers. Is there anything being discussed in Washington about taking care of this situation?
Well, there is, but I wouldn't hold my breath that issue is going to be resolved, because that would require Congress to stand up for working families and take on big money interest, and that's not something that we see happen very often. Our friends in the House of Representatives spend much of their time trying to deregulate corporate America, trying to give tax breaks to the wealthiest people and the largest corporations. So I don't think we're going to get a lot of help from them. And I would not be honest if I told you that in the Senate, with Democratic control, there aren't too many Democrats who would not be prepared to get involved in that issue. But the issue that you're talking about is a huge issue. We are seeing enormous retirement insecurity in America. There was a time when millions of workers had defined pension plans. Many of those are gone. As a result of the Wall Street crisis of 5 years ago, a lot of working people lost much of their retirement that they had saved, and now there are attacks on Social Security. So we've got to do everything we can to protect the retirement security of working Americans.
Brunch with Bernie. Senator Bernie Sanders taking your calls, answering your questions in our national town hall meeting here on the Thom Hartmann Program. We'll be back with more of your questions for Senator Sanders right after this. You can check out his website at sanders.senate.gov, G-O-V. Check it out.
You're listening to the Thom Hartmann Program. Visit thomhartmann.com for audio and video archives.
And one of our listeners today is going to receive a free signed copy of my book, Cracking the Code, brought to you by Stamps.com. That caller could be you. And welcome back. Jared in Burlington, Vermont. You're on the air with Senator Sanders.
Senator Sanders, this is Jared Wood. It's a pleasure to talk with you again. I have a very quick question. In the past, sort of pre-sequester and pre-hacking, you have been in support of the F-35 in Burlington. My question is this: should the F-35 exist at all?
Well, I think from Vermont's perspective, Jared, the question is, how do we protect the Vermont National Guard, keep it strong with its 4,000 employees? In my mind, the issue is not the F-35, which has had huge cost overrun, and there are questions about it. The issue is making sure that in Vermont, we have a strong National Guard with a strong mission. Right now, it's the F-16. And if we lose that mission, it will mean the decline of many, many jobs in the state of Vermont, which I do not want to see happen. I think in the broader sense, what we have got to do is understand from a military spending point of view that we are now spending is almost as much as the rest of the world combined. So rather than cutting Social Security or Medicare or Medicaid, I think we have got to take a hard look at excessive military spending, huge cost overruns which exist in many, many weapon systems, and that's something that I will do. But in terms of the Vermont National Guard, let me tell you, I am a strong supporter of the Vermont National Guard, the 4,000 jobs that we have here in Vermont as a result of the Guard, and I want them to continue to have a strong mission. And if that's the F-16, that's great. If that's the F-35, then that's the way it's going to be.
Dolina in Los Gatos, California. You're on the air with Senator Sanders.
Hello, Senator Sanders. It's so nice to talk to you.
Thank you.
I wanted to ask you about, it's Anything Goes Friday. So I'm a wild horse advocate, and I would like to know why we have 50,000 wild horses in captivity on private property, barring the public from viewing their condition, how they're doing, whether they're even there. And it also seems like I have to ask, are these private properties that have these horses in captivity, are they tax exempt? And it seems like they're gearing up to slaughter them, and this is a huge we
have a little less than a minute left.
What I can tell you is that I, and I think many senators and members of the House, get a lot of calls on this issue. I think people do not want to see wild horses slaughtered, and I think your point is well taken. So without going into great detail, I mean, there are problems with drought in various parts of the country and people not being able to maintain their horses. I think we've got to do everything to protect these beautiful creatures.
Yeah, and just a note before we hit the break here, we had Madeline Pickens, T. Boone Pickens' wife, on a while ago on this topic here on the program. And she's got a foundation. People can Google it for more information on that sort of thing. So, Bernie will be right back. Senator Sanders will be with us answering your questions here on the Thom Hartmann Program on Brunch with Bernie. It is 10 minutes before the hour. Welcome back. Hey, quick note. Progressives know how to party. If you're in Los Angeles tomorrow, join me, Lily Tomlin, Jim Hightower, John Nichols, and other special guests at a Progressive Democrats of America annual get-together and fundraiser. For more information, go to pdamerica.org. And also, welcome to our newest Pacifica radio affiliate, WPEB in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, 88.1 FM. It's our Brunch with Bernie hour. Senator Bernie Sanders taking your calls. And Carl in Vernon Hills, Illinois. You're on the air with Senator Sanders. Apparently no Carl. Okay. Maybe he just came on just as I dropped him. I'm sorry, Carl. My apologies. Try calling back. Vahid in Los Angeles. You're on the air with Senator Sanders.
Hello, Tom. Hello, Senator. It's good to talk with you. I'm an inventor. What I have is a motor which harnesses energy directly from nature and generates power. It is extremely useful in hurricane. I saw it could have been useful in Hurricane Sandy situation. We are 2 months out of the hurricane season. My question is, and I sent this to Luis at thomhartmann.com. Since I don't have a patent right now, is there a way that I could present this directly into the PTO? It takes maybe under an hour.
Present it to where?
The government knows what it is.
The Patent and Trademark Office.
PTO. And I was going to write to the other senator from Vermont, Senator Leahy as well, who authored the bill. So my patent is locked immediately, and in 2 months' time, you could have a number of these motors in place. It could pump out massive amounts of water.
Okay, I don't know what the best answer to give you here is, except there is a process to gain a patent, and I'm not sure why you're not pursuing that process.
Okay. He asked me a similar question earlier in the week, and I didn't have the answer either.
Yeah.
Gary in Granite City, Illinois. Gary, you're on the air with Senator Sanders. Gary? No, Gary. Okay, let's try Ray in LaSalle, Colorado. Ray, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Thank you very much, Tom. Senator Sanders, such a joy to talk to you. Thank you so much for fighting for us middle-class Americans. A question of you, sir. I am beside myself with this filibuster abuse. Why was nothing of significance done at the beginning of the last session, and what can we do to rein in that abuse?
Very, very important question, Ray, and thanks for asking it. Look, at the end of the day, democracy does not reign in the United States Senate. Most of us, probably most Americans, think that it takes a majority of votes to pass legislation. It does not. It doesn't take 51 votes. It takes 60 votes. And in an unprecedented way, since Obama was elected, the Republicans have used the filibuster, the threat of a filibuster, the demand for 60 votes on countless numbers of pieces of legislation, far more than ever before, including appointments and judges from the Obama administration. I agree with Ray. This is an intolerable situation. This is anti-democratic. I believe, the only member in the Democratic caucus, I'm an independent who caucuses with the Democrats, to vote against the agreement that was reached at the beginning of this session, because I think it didn't go far enough. Bottom line here is, I think people in the Senate should have a right to get on the floor, and if you want to talk for 10 hours, you want to talk for 15 hours, you have the right to do that. But after the debate is over, you need to take a vote, and majority should rule. That's 51 votes, not 60 votes. What we are hearing is the majority leader, Harry Reid, is getting increasingly frustrated with Republican efforts to not allow the reappointment of members to the National Labor Relations Board, worried about appointments to the Gina McCarthy, to the Environmental Protection Agency, Tom Perez, to the Department of Labor, fears that all of these nominees might be filibustered. And I think Reid is now thinking about, in fact, changing the rules and going to majority vote. If he does that, I will strongly support him.
Tommy in North Little Rock, Arkansas. You're on the air with Senator Sanders.
Hello, Senator Sanders?
Yes.
Look, we've had 40 years for the Democrats and Republicans to do the right thing. They're not going to do the right thing. Why are we as a people, Democrats, Republicans, blacks, whites, Asian, and Hispanics, come together and fire them? We can fire them. I mean, we are the one.
Fire your members of Congress, Tommy. Okay.
Oh, from Arkansas.
Bernie, isn't that what elections are called?
Yes. Tommy, we have elections every 2 years, and that's what it's about. It's about supporting or firing your members of Congress or your governors and so forth and so on. And if you think your elected officials are doing a bad job, it's your constitutional right to fire them if that's what you want.
Bernie, we have about a minute and a half here before the end of the show. We can maybe squeeze another call in.
Yeah, why don't we do that?
Okay. Let's see here. Russ in Williston, North Dakota. You're on the air with Senator Sanders.
Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Quick one, please.
Real quick. I'm working out in North Dakota in the oil fields. I'm in my mid-50s, as are thousands of other guys out here. They're in a similar situation that they've lost their homes. We're making good money, but the government is taxing, $15,000-$20,000 away. We're trying to buy homes. What I would like to see is the government let us keep those federal dollars to put specifically down toward mortgages. So by the time we retire, and most of us, like I say, we're in our 50s, our bodies aren't going to hold up forever, so that we have a chance of actually purchasing that home and having some kind of equity going into retirement.
So, Russ, what I'm hearing from you is that a number of these guys in North Dakota probably have come from other states, gave up their homes that are now renting in North Dakota. Is that the problem?
Yeah, I think he's asking for
homes. Yes, lost their homes, and we're out here working, and we're making good money. But for example, my wife and I probably paid about $15,000 to $20,000 in federal taxes this year combined.
Right. So you're looking for a tax break for down payments on a new home, right? For a tax deduction.
If we could take that $15,000 to $20,000.
Let's let Bernie answer that, because we're out of time.
The answer is Russ makes a good point, and this is a case where somebody lost their home, is now making good wages. Middle-class person paying too much in taxes would like the opportunity to gain some wealth by buying a home. Without going into details, I think he makes a very good point.
Great. Bernie, thanks so much for being with us this week.
Okay, thank you very much, Tom. Take care.
Thank you. We'll be back with Anything Goes Friday.